I'm not a lawyer, but have you heard about this case out of Tallahassee, Florida, where a man is going to trial on charges of a DUI and driving on a suspended license, but the officer's body camera shows that the officer cracked the seal of an unopened alcohol bottle, poured the liquor out, and then put the bottle back in the man's car? So let me tell you about this case. So this is Calvin Riley Sr., and on May 7th, 2023, around 2 a.m., Calvin was pulled over in Tallahassee, Florida. The officer that pulled him over is this woman whose name is Officer Oliver. Now, although Officer Oliver pulled Calvin over, she called another officer, Officer Muth, out to the scene to help her out. Officer Muth is the one who wrote the report, and I'm going to reference that report to tell y'all what they say happened that night. So it says that the two officers were at another traffic stop when Officer Oliver notices a white Mercedes speeding down the street. And as a reminder, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Officer Oliver leaves the current traffic stop that she and Officer Muth are at and goes to pull over the white Mercedes. She pulls the car over and learns that the driver is Calvin Riley Sr. And according to the report, when she initially contacted Calvin, he would not make eye contact with her and fumbled through his documents. At this point, Officer Muth shows up, and according to the report, she says she could smell the distinct odor of an alcoholic beverage emanating from the inside of the vehicle. Officer Muth also says that Riley had extremely watery, bloodshot eyes, his speech was extremely thick and slurred, and Calvin admitted to the officers that he had just come from a bar called Pockets, and while he was there, he had a couple of beers. Now, from here, a couple things happened. Number one, the officers learned that Calvin Riley's license is suspended. Number two, they ask him to voluntarily submit to a field sobriety test, but he says no. Number three, Calvin is asked to exit the vehicle. He's cooperative, he's placed in cuffs, and he's put in the back of Officer Oliver's car. He's back there. Officer Oliver goes and searches his car. And according to this report, it says, quote, a search of Riley's vehicle yielded a small, approximately 5 fluid ounces, bottle of vodka that was opened in a pocket in the driver's seat cover. Located in the center console of the vehicle, Officer Muth observed a cup that smelled of an alcoholic beverage. Watch this clip from Officer Oliver's body camera that shows when she searched the car and found the alcohol. And shout out to our Tallahassee because that's where this clip comes from.
Mr. Riley, I got a quick question for you.
No problem.
So I smelled marijuana in your vehicle. Did you recently smell?
No.
Once he's arrested for driving with a suspended license, they can search his car. Officer Oliver leaves the car, does a 360, and then goes back in the car, retrieving a sealed liquor bottle and pours it out. That was the sound of the seal on the liquor bottle breaking. Oliver tosses the empty bottle into the passenger seat. They don't find any marijuana in the car.
Y'all saw that, right?
Here's Officer Oliver implying to Officer Muth that the empty bottle was likely what was in a cup in Riley's center console.
Cover where like the knee would sit, there's an opening, and he had it like tucked. Okay. And then the whatever he had in his cup also smelled.
Then Officer Muth tells a senior officer that they found open alcohol in the car, in both a bottle and a cup.
Did y'all search the car?
Yeah.
Okay, nothing in there?
No. Well, okay, so he had a bunch of alcohol stash in there, but
Nothing open or anything?
yeah, open.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, in his like Tervis in the center console, he had a mixed drink, and then under his knee, he had a like little bottle of vodka tucked away.
When officers group to discuss the case, they all ask each other if their body cameras are off.
Still alive. Any evidence of that?
Marijuana.
Yeah.
Are you still on?
The video ends at this point.
So Calvin Oliver is booked and charged with driving under the influence and driving while license suspended or revoked. Calvin gets an attorney, a public defender whose name is Desiree Goodfellow, and there's a deposition of Officer Oliver. A lot happened in that deposition, but I'm going to specifically focus on what Officer Oliver had to say about that bottle of alcohol.
Now, after Mr. Riley was arrested, you searched the car, is that correct?
Correct.
During that search, you found a bottle of alcohol.
Correct.
During that search, you didn't find any marijuana.
No.
You didn't find any joints.
No.
You didn't find any paraphernalia.
No.
You didn't find any evidence of marijuana besides the smell.
Correct.
Before finishing the search, you went back to that 20-gram bottle that you left on the driver's seat.
Correct.
That bottle was sealed before you opened it.
Yes.
And so you twisted the top of the bottle.
Yes.
And you broke the seal.
Correct.
And you, after you opened it, you dumped out the contents.
Correct.
You dumped it onto the road.
Correct.
Then you put the top back on the bottle.
Yes.
Then you put the bottle back into the car.
Yes.
You threw it on the passenger side.
Yes.
Earlier you said that was just standard protocol.
Correct.
So you usually unseal alcohol bottles and dump them out.
Typically, I don't unseal them, but as I was twisting, I realized it was unopened, and that was my fault.
And has that always been your testimony?
No.
No, but previously you said that you didn't unseal it.
Correct. I didn't believe I did.
But now you know that you did unseal it.
Yes, watching my body camera.
Now, Officer Muth was the other officer with you, correct?
Correct.
You told Officer Muth about the bottle.
Correct.
And you told her that because she was the primary officer.
Yes.
Because she'd be writing the report.
Correct.
And you told her about the bottle because it was evidence.
Correct.
An open liquor bottle found inside the car within reach of the driver would be big evidence for a DUI, right?
Correct.
And you told Officer Muth that the bottle was open?
I don't remember my exact phrasing, but I know that from seeing her report, she said it was opened.
And she would only know that from you?
Correct.
So the empty bottle, that was evidence of DUI at this point, correct?
Correct.
But the contents would really be the evidence of the DUI?
Could be. Correct.
But you dumped it out,
Correct.
despite it being evidence?
Correct.
Where's the protocol that told you to unseal a liquor bottle and dump it out?
I'm unable to impound liquids into our police department property and evidence. And at that time, I believed I was going to be impounding it, so I dumped it out.
And so what is the authority for impoundment? The rule. Where do you get the protocol rules for impoundment?
Our general orders, and I believe this was General Order 42.
For context, what's happening here is that Officer Oliver is saying that her understanding of protocol is that she cannot take liquid into evidence, and so she dumped it out because that's what protocol tells her. So the attorney is telling her, here's your protocol. Please point out to me where it says that you have to dump out liquid before taking it into evidence. Spoiler alert, she never finds that protocol. Okay, so fast forward, and trial is scheduled, yes, trial, to begin today, April 5th. But yesterday, April 4th, Calvin's attorneys submitted a motion to dismiss due to egregious government conduct. Attorney Eric Henley, who is partnered with Attorney Goodfellow on this case, highlights in the motion that Officer Oliver took the unopened bottle of alcohol, cracked the seal of it, poured it out, placed it back in Calvin Riley's car, and then Officer Muth, when she wrote that report, relied on that now open bottle of alcohol as evidence of intoxication. The motion goes on to say that by engaging in this behavior, Officer Oliver irreparably tainted the stop. It goes on to say, where there was no evidence of an unsealed bottle, Officer Oliver created that evidence by breaking a seal, emptying the bottle, and returning it to the vehicle. Dismissing the egregiousness of that behavior because it occurred on a smaller scale would signal to law enforcement that small injustices are permissible. Police misconduct, no matter how small, should not be allowed by this court. So that's the motion. It submitted last night. The attorneys come to court today, and it's right before jury selection, and the judge asks about the motion.
I know that the defense has filed a motion last night. Do you wish to be heard on that motion this morning? All right, you may proceed.
Your Honor, before we proceed with argument, the state does object to having this motion heard.
Okay, and what is your objection?
Well, for starters, Your Honor, pursuant to court order that was previously filed, pretrial motions are supposed to be filed within the 5 days before jury selection is supposed to occur.
So the state objects to the motion even being heard, but the judge decides that the defense can argue their motion to dismiss. After hearing both sides, though, the judge denies the motion.
By the testimony and the evidence that we've heard so far in the previous hearings, there were reasons for them to pull over the defendant. There were signs of impairment. There were admissions that were made by the defendant on body-worn camera that we can all hear. And after the defendant was placed under arrest, the officers found a bottle in the car, opened it, and poured it out. The parties can make whatever arguments as to the theories of the case and what they believe happened, but this is ultimately a decision that should be left to the jury. So I'm going to deny the motion to dismiss.
So the judge denies the motion and trial proceeds. So come back for my next video because I'm going to be recapping what happens in this trial.